Al-Qaeda-linked fighters claim to have seized American weapons. Opposition activists say al-Nusra Front has taken over some key towns in Idlib province. You see them there on the map. You see that area, I should say, outlined on the map. And they say that they have taken some heavy weaponry from an arms depot in Khan Subul. One activist says the fighters have seized about 70% of the territory once held by more moderate rebels. Those are the rebels the U.S. wants to support, wants to train, wants to arm. Are they surrendering to an al-Qaeda group? Our Nick Payne-Walsh is live in Gaziantep, Turkey, with more on this. Nick, what's going on there in Idlib? It looks like the al-Nusra Front, the al-Qaeda-linked group, is making some huge gains.
Well, certainly Nusra have always been the big military player around Idlib, but they sort of tolerated in their midst groups like the Hazm movement and the Syrian Revolutionary Front, more moderate groups, less militarily impressive, it's fair to say, but in many ways backed by the United States. I should say the US has never publicly said they've been supplying weapons to these groups, but it's widely said amongst rebel ranks that that is the case, or at least they're supplied through Arab ally proxies. So a complex picture in terms of those weapons, and there's no confirmation from the US that they have fallen into Nusra hands, and in fact Nusra themselves don't supply video convincingly to that effect at all. But there has been a substantial change in territory hands in that area around Idlib. One analyst saying about 70% of the areas that the Hazm movement and Syrian Revolutionary Front used to hold in the Idlib suburbs have been taken now by Nusra. Why is this happening? Well, there are some suggestions Nusra is seeking to homogenize that area, remove any potential opponents, or at least remind everyone who's boss. There are said still potentially to be talks happening between these moderates and Nusra. It doesn't sound like it's over yet, but some observers are also pointing to the fact that simply Nusra wants to stamp its mark on this territory, have broader control, and certainly present itself as a much more authoritative movement given the rise of ISIS in the past few months or so. Hala?
Well, this, if it does indeed, if it is indeed the case that Nusra rebels are taking over territory, potentially even getting their hands on weapons once controlled by more moderate rebels, this has to complicate the calculus for countries like the United States in that part of Syria, right?
Well, certainly. I mean, if you look at US policy, yes, what little US policy there has been in Syria has been dependent on these moderate rebel groups being vetted, being equipped, possibly being armed by allies or down the line. But look at the broader Syrian battlefield, frankly. They've represented a very small amount of those doing the actual fighting. Nusra, much more on the front lines. Many, I think, would say objectively more effective against regime targets too. So does it massively change the equation on the battlefield? Probably not. Does it massively undermine US policy? If it is the case, they're losing territory very fast. Yes. Hala?